Hello and welcome to On the Patio with Mr. D. Hey, during season 3 at Paddling Places, Florida, I received all kinds of questions with regard to cameras. Let me read a few of these to you. This one comes from Cindy and it says, "Hey Dale, love your vids. What camera should I use on an inflatable kayak?" Here's one from Bob. Bob says, "Your vids are sick. I love them. Awesome. Extremely informative on the inflatable market. But what cameras do you use when you're in your inflatable?" These are generally some of the questions I get from a lot of my viewers, and today we're going to talk about the crazy rigging that I do on my inflatable kayaks and what cameras I use, all the way down to answer your questions, give you some basics that you could use on your inflatable kayak and not have any real problems. So we're going to address that today. We'll be back in a bit. So hey, we're back and we're going to break this thing down, this Q&A deal on what cameras I use on my inflatable kayaks, and we're going to break it into two different categories. One, bare bones, to give you full 100% coverage, but bare bones that to take with you. One of the things I recommend is having a deck bag to be able to store your cameras in. Now the bare bones one that I use, and it's still really effective, is, and I'm going to go through it right now. The first one I'd like to show you is the Osmo Pocket. Now the Osmo Pocket, I'm telling you what, I love this camera. I use it all the time. It has a built-in 3-axis gimbal. It shoots 4K at 60 frames a second. You can either use it with your cell phone or you can use it handheld like this. It does have a monitor on the front, which is touchscreen, and then if you want to use it with your cell phone, there's a couple of accessories you need to get to be able to carry that. You can plug it in direct with the cell phone by itself. I wouldn't recommend it. There's a couple of videos that I've done in the past that talk specifically about this clamp system here that would hold your Osmo Pocket in place and not have to worry about it falling out of its connection port. The other thing I use with this Osmo Pocket to make it functional, I use the Fujitec FT568 selfie stick. The reason I use this one is because it is a clamping system here, and these hold a lot better than the others. I put a small piece of webbing buckle right there in the cockpit forward that will strap around this right here and lock it into place, and then the little screw-on tripod leg sits in between my legs, and that thing is rock solid the whole time I'm on the water. I've never had a problem with that system here. It works absolutely phenomenal. Now to go with the still pictures, we got another way to go. You can use the expensive DSLRs if you want to, or you can use a standard, like a little Canon point and shoot wafer, whatever you want. But some of the shots I get, being it's nature and a lot of the birds are way up in trees or a long way from me, and then plus you're in a kayak, so you have to add the distance from you to the shoreline to the tree line or whatever you're trying to shoot up there, and try to bring it in with a very good photo. I tested all kinds of cameras and finally narrowed it down, and what I use today consistently is the Nikon P900. This is a 2000 optical zoom lens, so you want to talk about reaching out there. This thing will do it. I love it. I've used it a lot. I haven't had any real problems with it. I did have a switch problem that went out, but Square Trade, I got the warranty with Square Trade. They took care of this in less than 2 weeks. It was done, brand new switch. Look how far this thing reaches out. 2000 millimeter optical zoom. The pictures are a little soft at 2000, but in post, if you add sharpness to it or clarity on the clarity button, it'll just sharpen those up, and it's just going to be the bomb. You've seen a lot of my photos out there. This is what I shoot it with. All my still work is done with this camera right here. Then I have one that's strapped right on top of my deck bag. Now, this one has an iSteady Pro electronic gimbal, and it's hooked up to the Joby GorillaPod, and it has a huge head on it. Now, this is where we get into more of the advanced stuff. Now, the last part of the basic stuff is to get yourself a small GorillaPod. You don't have to have this crazy one, because we're going to talk about that in the advanced setup here in a little bit. A small GorillaPod, and then get yourself it could be an old neck strap or shoulder strap from one of your old bags, and then hook it to where it will wrap around your deck bag. Now, I use that, or I use this system here as a handheld. And using what camera I use on this, believe it or not, is not the GoPro. It's the Osmo action camera. I'll tell you what, I have found this to be an excellent camera, and it works phenomenal. So, the three basic things if you want to get some good video shots is absolutely the Osmo Pocket. If Osmo Pocket is not in your budget, then go with the DJI Osmo Action and a decent DSLR. I recommend the P900. It'll give you the best bang for the buck, and it really reaches out there. Now, for the advanced craziness, we will first talk about the 5K. It's called a 5K Joby GorillaPod. Now there I got the expansion kit, which has two strap mounts right here. Now what I do with that is identically the same thing I do with the smaller lightweight unit, is I strap this and connect it to the deck bag. That allows this thing to just sit straight forward on the deck bag here, and then when I'm ready to start shoot, I hit power on the Hohem iSteady Pro gimbal, and that's mounted with a GoPro Hero 5 Black. So this sits out front, this sits in the middle, this one's in my hand or sitting by my side. Inside the deck bag is the P900, and then, now the last thing I use to get a lot of my shots is the quad action camera floaty system. I've done videos on this. You can find it on my channel. This one can hold up to 4 action cameras. Now I have 2 clones, one here and one here. And then I have 2 GoPro Hero Sessions, one facing this way, one facing this way. So I've got north, south, east, and west covered. Now, the only drawback with this, and I'm going to be testing the Osmo Action camera because their image stabilization is supposed to be fantastic. I'm going to try that on the floating tripod, because as you move, this is what it's going to do. So in post-production, you have to hit image stabilization or the stabilization thing, and it'll analyze the movement and then flatten it down. It's done really well for me in the past, but that here is what I use on the water. It's set up to be towed behind me or just freely let it go. It's worked well. I get 4 different angles. I can do paddle bys and all that kind of stuff. It's really, really a lot of fun. So, let me recap this for you. For basic operations, I recommend the DJI Osmo Pocket, the DJI Osmo Action, and the Nikon P900. For advanced stuff, you heard me talk about that. I have a variety of configurations I use, but this is my basic main configuration, and that's with the Hohem iSteady Pro gimbal, GoPro Hero 5 Black, the 5K GorillaPod with modified strap system to hold onto the deck bag, the quad floaty, where I can put on 4 action cameras. Of course, my DJI Osmo Pocket, the Osmo Action Camera, and again, my Nikon P900. So basically, if you just want to do the basic stuff like that, and you just want something to go out and have fun with, I would recommend the Nikon P900 as far as your DSLR. It reaches a long way out there. It is a budgetary camera. You can get them now for under 600 bucks. The other thing I would recommend, you don't have to have both of these configurations, but either the Osmo Pocket or the DJI Osmo Action. It's less than it is for a GoPro Hero 7, and the EIS, I think, or image stabilization, I think, is better in this camera right here. Voice activated, so you can mount it up front using the smaller GorillaPod or the big one. Put it down there, strap it to your deck bag, and then give your camera voice commands to start recording or stop recording, to take a photo, whatever you want to do. You can do the same thing with the GoPro Hero 5 Black, which is up here. And I use the voice commands when I'm on the water. Now in the advanced kit, there's one more thing that I want to tell you about. If you're going to do shooting advanced and you're doing narration on the water and all that kind of stuff, don't depend on the audio systems in these action cameras and stuff like that. I recommend that you pick up a good, decent digital recorder. I use the H1N and or the Sony, and I think it's an SX570. I just recently switched over to the H1N, and this is a really, really outstanding field recorder. Now, lapel mics, that's up for debate. Now, the lapel mic I'm using here is what they call a JO44. The only drawback is it only records on one track. So that means in post-production I have to duplicate that track, make it a stereo track. But I do have the Sony stereo microphone, but it's just really bulky. The quality of the two, you really can't tell the difference. I'll be doing a review on lapel mics later on, and also a review on 3 different field recorders here in the future. So we'll be talking about that in more detail later on. So guys, I hope that answers your questions. You know, keep the questions coming. I'll be more than happy to answer them. But for inflatable kayak use, this is what I use out there. Sometimes I can have as many as 6 to 8 cameras going at one time. You figure 4 of them on the floatable tripod. The DJI Osmo Pocket here, you've got the built-in camera within your cell phone. You've got the GoPro Hero 5 Black going on. You got the Osmo Action going on, and then your Nikon P900. So if you do the count, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 9. That's 9 cameras right there. That's a lot of cameras. You don't have to do that if you're just going out for good family fun and stuff like that, but you want to have your hands free, because remember, you're paddling out there, guys. So I would say get the 3K or the 5K GorillaPod, and then use that strap mounting system to wrap it around the bottom end of your deck bag. That would keep that thing secure. Then you can let your GoPro run while you're doing your thing, or whatever camera you're using. The other one is if you're using the DJI Osmo Pocket, I recommend the Fujitech selfie stick and a set of tripod legs that you screw on with a 1/4-20, and then make that modification with the small web buckle clip at the forward end of your cockpit. That'll hold it into place. And you've seen in many of my videos, you'll see that camera just sitting there, and I'm just paddling around, because it is just going to sit there and do its thing. So hey guys, I hope that answers all your questions. We'll see you on the next one.